Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan. And joining me tonight, as always, is my, let's go with effervescent chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez.
Thank you. That's me.
We need cheap, obviously fake crowd sounds when we open the show. That's what we really need.
Well, you got to bring back the switchboard that you used for you still use that for Captain Crypt Freaks.
Yeah, no, I do. I use it every show, and I keep adding things to it.
You know what I'm talking about. Transfer that over to this show and add the Venom voice that everybody loves.
Yeah, we retired that the day we used it, I think, is what happened with that. Welcome, everybody. Thanks a whole bunch for being here. Apologies for the late start, and I had some technical difficulties right at the beginning, and then YouTube was being really funky with me when I tried to set up a new stream. But some of you guys have found us again and come back. We appreciate it. DJ has all of the questions that folks put in before, so we'll still have those. Don't worry that your question got lost. DJ, thanks for being organized and all of that.
Of course. That's the job.
That's why I pay DJ.
That was the job description that I read. It just said organized person.
Be organized and get paid very little for it. That was the job description.
And you have to be able to read.
At least that's the one I wrote. I don't know.
You didn't prepare me for having to decipher some of the questions, but
but no one can be quite prepared for some of that. Yeah, there's no way around it. Folks, we're going to have a really fun show tonight. We've got a super chat goal. We've got a big list of stuff to look at and try to go rapid fire, and we all know I'm going to fail at that. So strap in for I'm sure be a lengthy discussion about a thing that I want to only take about 15 minutes. I know there's no way that's going to work out, but I'm really going to try. We're going to take a look here in a few minutes at Rotten Tomatoes' top 88 superhero movies according to percentages on the tomato meter. So freshest is at the top and least fresh is on the bottom. And I'm going to assume, because I've actually not looked at the list apart from the first few, because I found that article, I started looking at it, and I went, it'd be cool to react to this blind, react to it live. So I know what the top 10 is, but I haven't looked at anything past much of that, like top 12 or 13. I haven't looked past that. But DJ, I'm going to assume that it's 88 because there's some kind of a cutoff for percentages. Like, is it 88 because that's
what a strange number.
Is that how many superhero movies there are before they stop being fresh? Is that what it is? Is it the 88 that are fresh? Or is it an arbitrary number?
Yeah, I don't know why else you would use 88.
Yeah, that's a really weird number. I mean, the only thing I associate that with is the speed that you have to get up to go back in time and Back to the Future, and that's not even a superhero movie, so it has nothing to do with anything.
That's true.
So I'll talk about the Super Chat goal here in a second. First, I want to do some house cleaning stuff, break down what's coming up soon on the channel. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Central Time, Austin and I are going to be watching the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie for like the 115th time. I've said my piece on that. I've done so much content on that movie, but of course with the Superhero Rewind commentary project, I'm going back and doing new commentaries with, obviously quite a bit of story analysis and review in them, but I'm going back and doing a new commentary for every superhero movie ever made, or as close as I can get to that before I die, fall over, or just get finally sick of superhero movies for the last time. And it hasn't happened yet, though, in 14 years, so I'm not expecting that to happen next, or soon. I'm just saying words now. And anyway,
aboard, above, about, across, after, against, along, amid. Just rattle off prepositions.
It's preposition night on the Captain Logan Show. Austin and I put together a poll for the Rewind Selection Board on Patreon, and that was one of the movies that he picked, and it won by a landslide, so that's what we're doing tomorrow night. Appropriate, because we just had a Ninja Turtles movie come out, regardless of the fact that I flipped red on it and didn't love it. I have been really in a Ninja Turtles mood since we talked about that movie, and really before we've been doing a lot of Ninja Turtles content lately. I happen to be wearing a turtle shirt right now, and let me also mention that Blue Beetle will probably be reviewed on Sunday. If I don't get a chance to see it this weekend, I'll do it the weekend after that. I know people are just going to be absolutely chomping at the bit for that movie to get reviewed. So I will get to it as fast as possible, I promise. I don't want people to be losing sleep over not knowing my opinion on the Blue Beetle film. So I will get that done as soon as humanly possible. I expect to be the only person in the theater, and yeah, there were a couple of really gimmicky things I wanted to do with that, and I decided just not to blow the money on it. But one idea, I don't know. There's a part of me that still wants to do this. But one thing I really wanted to do, I talked about this last week, is I wanted to go in and buy all the Blue Beetle merch that's at the Cinemark right now.
Yeah.
Because it's preposterous what they have, and there's no way anybody's buying it. They have like a plush, and they have the novelty cops, and they have shirts, and they have all this stuff. And I was like, I want to buy everything behind the counter and wear it at the Blue Beetle screening, and try to make people think that I'm the biggest Blue Beetle fan in the world. Not that I've ever like disliked Blue Beetle as a character. Like, you could do a cool Blue Beetle movie. It just doesn't look like one.
Hey, it could be your thing. You just like the blue insect superheroes.
Oh, that's a good call.
You could just go in like just deck yourself out in tick stuff. That would be funny if you went in like all tick stuff and then started yelling at the screen halfway. Yeah. This isn't a tick movie.
Wait a minute. That is such a great idea for like a sketch or like a little short film. I wish I'd thought of it. That's brilliant. Oh, I wish I'd thought of that. And then I don't know, Blue Beetle. I kind of raised my eyebrow at that choice in general. A lot of people have that as a solo superhero movie before you have introduced him in anything. That seems like a spin-off movie. That seems like he should already be in like a Young Justice movie, or a side character in a Justice League thing, or you know, maybe he's hanging out in a Green Lantern movie or a Green Arrow movie or something. But we're just going to introduce him by himself? It's going to be hard to get people excited about that, and clearly it's not going to work. And I don't think, even if the announcement for the DC Universe reboot had not happened, it would still perform. Like, I think we'd be in the same boat we're in right now. I don't think anybody would care, but we'll see what the movie's like. I'm hearing mixed things, which is just the world we live in now. We're divided on everything. I want to live in the world where the most divisive movie that's ever been put out is Blue Beetle. That's what I want to see. I want to see people get in fist fights in the street over Blue Beetle. So anyway, probably talking about that on Sunday. Speaking of Ninja Turtles, we have another edition tonight of Tattoo Talk with Cap.
Tattoo Talk.
DJ, yeah. I got a Ninja Turtles tattoo, and let me pull up a picture of it real quick.
I thought you were just gonna like plop your leg up on
I can, but you won't be able to see it super well. So I thought I would also pull the picture up real quick. I should have already had this up, and I completely forgot about it. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing great tonight.
Yeah. Talking tats, talking superhero films.
Talking tats. Yeah, somebody asked on the community tab when I posted this the other day how many tattoos I'm up to now. I'm up to 11. This is number 11. I've been getting them since November of 21, and am now averaging one every couple of months, I guess, which was not intentional, but that's where we're at. So there is my Michelangelo Ninja Turtles tattoo. That is original Eastman and Laird art. Not original art, but Eastman and Laird art. Originally, my plan was to have Elmo, my tattoo artist who does all my tattoos, and he's been on the show before. I was going to have him create something from scratch, and he was going to design it, and he was going to not show it to me and just tattoo it on my leg. And then when I told him I wanted it in the Eastman and Laird style, he's like, well, I can't just make up something in somebody else's style. And he goes, if we do it in my style, it's going to be the 87 cartoon, it's going to be really colorful and flashy, and it's going to have pizza on it. And I was like, I mean, that might look cool, but it's just not what I want. And I decided that he was right, and he found this image. I think it was actually one of the images that I sent him for reference, and he was like, I think this just by itself would make for a really good tattoo. And then I decided that it went so well with my Ben Edlund tick tattoo that maybe that could potentially be a start of something if I get more of these down the line, where if I get a like full body character, it will be, or even sketches, but it'll be like, you know, actual artists who worked on those characters, and just transfer that stuff, because I also did it with my Bubbles Mojo Jojo tattoo, so I got kind of a thing going on now with that stuff, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. I think it looks great. There's so much shadow work in it. It's a lot of blacks. I'm more sore with this one than I have been some others, because there's just so much black in it.
Yeah, basically it's almost all filled in.
Yep. But yeah, there it is. It's sideways, but there he is.
I feel like we should be playing burlesque music right now.
Well, anyway, tonight's Super Chat goal, as promised last week, is to get me and Austin to watch... I can't even think of it. I so do not want to watch
Invasion.
it. Secret Invasion, yeah.
Oh, this is something I announced.
Disney Plus miniseries. Say it again.
This is something I announced, as I'm prone to do.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you did. And I was like, okay, fine. We'll do it if we hit a Super Chat goal. Tonight, we're going to make the goal $100. If we hit $100 tonight, Austin and I will promise to watch Secret Invasion in its entirety, or we might break it up into 2 streams, but we'll definitely do all of it, even if we do it in 2 different streams. Knowing us, we'll likely just knock it all out at once and do it overnight, do it into 2, 3, 4 in the morning, as we are sometimes prone to do. It'll be like a 24-hour stream, except not 24 hours. It won't be planned ahead of time. You'll get our in-the-moment responses and reactions and feelings about it as we're watching it. We'll make it as entertaining as possible, because what little I watched of it was really boring. And so we'll try to, I don't know, I'll bring booze or something. We'll try to make it as fun and entertaining as humanly possible. But that's what we'll do. And that is the news. So let's go ahead now and get into the lead-in topic. So once again, if you want to see Austin and I do Secret Invasion, the $100 goal is what we're looking for, and you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and we'll talk about anything you'd like us to talk about. We're going to try not to spend all night long on the lead-in topic. It could take us realistically to the break, but we'll at least have an hour after that of regular Q&A with the super chats and regular questions. But we'll get to it as fast as we can, and I'll really try to blow through this list if I can. Austin, I'm sorry, I talked to Austin all night last night. DJ. I gotta get with it here. DJ,
Wake up, guy.
Am I missing anything, or are we ready to move on here? Ready to get going?
No, you covered everything. I mean, feel free if like this topic spurs some questions or some super chats, and you guys want to talk about, if we say something, if we offend you or something, and you want to talk to us about the topic, feel free. You don't have to hold your questions till we're done with the topic.
Drop a donation via super chat if we offended you. We really appreciate those. Those are actually our favorite kind of super chats.
They have to yell at us if we offend them. They correct us.
Yeah, but it's really nice of you to do it.
Tell us that we're wrong.
In super chat. And you can also leave a regular question, of course, and we'll try to tackle some of those as well. If there's time, make sure and ping at DJ Martinez or at 90s Marvel Comics logo. That's my favorite Marvel Comics logo.
It's pretty sweet.
It's the one that was on all the cartoon shows at that time.
Yeah.
Or you can tag him at Screaming Children in the background. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, those aren't my screaming children in the background.
No, but they're there. Okay, curiously, so we're looking at RottenTomatoes.com. This is an updated list. I think they first put this list together like 5 years ago. I did double check it just to make sure that there was more recent stuff on it, and in the top 10 was Across the Spider-Verse, so clearly this is updated up through this year. This is the 88 best superhero movies of all time, ostensibly based on the freshness rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you see things on this list where you go, hey, that's way too high or that's way too low, just remember, it's not the most accurate thing in the world to say the consensus of fans or even exactly critics, because it's just based on what things, it's just math and it's just statistics, and it's just based on what movies basically got a green sign flip and which one's got a red sign flip, right?
It's not a score.
It's not a score. So when you see like 97%, that's not everyone coming together saying this is the greatest superhero movie of all time. It's 97% of critics saying it was good enough to not flip my sign red. That's an important distinction.
Yeah, it could have been 90. It could have been, everyone could have said it was a 3 out of 5 or a 5 or a 6 out of 10 or a 51 out of 100, and it's still, it makes it a positive rating, and then you get a red tomato.
Now, to be fair, that doesn't typically happen. Usually, if you have a movie that is anything over, I would say 80-85%, a lot of those reviews are going to be glowing, and that's because there's such a all or nothing mentality in film criticism that you do have a lot of critics that are either this is perfect or this didn't work at all, and no matter what the point value is that they'll give to it, you'll read a review and go, well, you weren't real open-minded, you weren't real thoughtful about this. So you do kind of see that. And then, of course, you have the problem, I think, these days of critics maybe not being entirely honest, where maybe they're trying to play the field a little bit and make sure they make as many people happy as possible or make studios happy. And I don't mean to be cynical, but you'll see certain scores and go, well, I don't see how that's not happening. So anyway, just keeping all those things in mind, looking at this with a grain of salt, it will be fun still to complain about the things that are too high and too low, even if it's not fair.
Yeah.
DJ, curiously, we have a picture of Blue Beetle here graduating from something.
Oh, he's finally got his own superhero film.
He's made it. We need this image for every superhero that finally gets their own film.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Where it's like, oh yeah, they've graduated. They've made it to the most justified, valid status that gives everything credibility, the movies. You know, a place where we complain constantly about how formulaic superhero movies are, or superhero stories are. That's what validates you as a superhero. So, is this in the film, or did somebody Photoshop this for some reason?
I'm pretty sure it's Photoshopped.
Okay, but I want that to happen.
You want him to graduate in his costume?
Yeah, I want him to graduate in his costume. Why though? What does this have to do with anything?
I don't know.
Especially because that's not on this list. Maybe it is.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. 88 is a big number.
That's true. And I'm sure this is all theatrical, right? Like, there's probably not direct-to-video stuff on this list.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll see.
Probably.
We'll go ahead and start blowing through it. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know what your opinions are about some of the things that you're seeing here. Obviously, there's these days a huge discrepancy very often, not always, but more often than you used to see, between the audience score and the critic score. I'm a little bit afraid to see some of this, DJ. But like I said, I know what and also we're looking from number 1 to 88, so we're gonna see the highest rated movie right away, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. 97%. Incredibles is right after that, also with 97%. So immediately you've got two movies from kind of different eras, which is interesting, and both animated.
It's the way to do superhero movies, man.
It sure is.
No complaints so far. Those are both great.
And of course, those are both great movies. I've said this a million times. I don't think Into the Spider-Verse is the greatest superhero movie ever made. I don't think it deserves to be on the top spot. I did put it in my top 10 of the decade list, so it would probably be in my top 20 of all time. But I wouldn't put it all the way at number 1. And this is one of those places where I think a lot of people's personal reviews and lists are accurate to what Rotten Tomatoes has here, just with the percentages, because I am seeing this on a lot of people's personal lists as the best superhero movie ever made. I don't agree with that, and I also think Across is better. Black Panther.
Yeah, I wish they would put the. I kind of wish it's not that important, but I kind of wish they put the audience score 2 next to it just to reference that.
Yeah, I wish they would do that, and considering that on the web pages for each of these, that's what you see is the critic score and the audience score. Why not just copy them both?
I don't know. Maybe that doubled the work time.
So interestingly, Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse are both in the top 10. Across is number 4, only with 95%. I still think it deserves to be tied with the other, but not number 1. But just for personal reasons, I like it more. Like I said, Black Panther's at number 3. I'm not really surprised by that either, although I didn't remember that it had quite that high of a rating. I thought it was more like 91, 92.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good movie. I it wouldn't be quite that high for me, but I'm not upset about it.
Was also on my top 10 of the decade, so that would certainly be in my top 20 probably. I don't think I gave it a 4 when I reviewed it under the old.
I think it's too hard to, with that ending, to give it a perfect score.
Yeah, that was the tough thing for me. Endgame is number 5 with 94%. I don't agree with that at all. Like, I like that movie fine, but it's not. And again, like that percentage is kind of crazy. When I would assume that there were probably a few kind of lukewarm responses to that. We're like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not. Or it's not brilliant, but I'm not gonna flip it red. Logan, I do think deserves to be on this list, and maybe that high. Maybe a little bit more like the end of the top 10 or into the early top 20, but
yeah, maybe like 12 or 13 or something.
But I do agree with that. Dark Knight, of course, is in the top 10, deserving of that. It's interesting that Dark Knight and Iron Man are right next to each other. They got the exact same percentage score.
It's a big year, man.
And they came out the same summer. And as I always say, they changed everything.
7 and 8.
So that's cool. They both really deserve to be on this list. Superman the movie is at number 9. I think it should be higher than that, but at least it's in the top 10, so that's good. And it would be higher than that if it weren't for the fact that there are 2 animated Spider-Man movies in the top 10. And Wonder Woman at number 10. I'm actually surprised that that's that high.
I like all these movies so far. We can say that.
Yeah. And I would say that more than half of them are probably deserving of being on the top 5 or in the top 10, or maybe half of them, maybe 5. But I think almost all of them are worthy of being in the top 20. Maybe all of them. No, not Endgame. maybe not Endgame.
Yeah. I say, yeah, if I was rating that based on my first theater experience, it would be a lot higher. It doesn't rewatch well, especially with the Thor stuff.
Well, and yeah, but then wait till you see what number 11 is, and that'll make a lot more sense. You and I love Wonder Woman. I think at this point that movie is a little bit more divisive than it seemed to be when it came out. And I'll say it's also important, like I said earlier, grain of salt, to consider that to speak to what you just said, these are also based on the first time people saw them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what if every critic saw a movie twice before they gave it a score on Rotten Tomatoes, and how different would that change the percentages, do you think?
I mean, I think critics would hate their job a lot more. They already have to watch every movie, and now they have to watch every movie twice.
Yeah, no, of course. Like, practically that wouldn't work, but it would make a difference, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of things are don't hold up on rewatch.
Okay, so now
that's kind of the beauty of them. I mean, that's kind of the point of some movies.
Yeah. Now we very quickly get into I vehemently disagree with you territory.
Number 11.
Thor Ragnarok, number 11. No Way Home, number 12. Incredibles 2, 13.
3 in a row.
That movie's just okay. It shouldn't even be in the top 30. And No Way Home and Ragnarok, if there are enough decent superhero movies, shouldn't be on the list at all.
Shouldn't be in the top 88.
Or at least Ragnarok shouldn't. No Way Home is maybe somewhere in the 60s or 70s. For me, maybe. And I know there's a lot of people watching that will disagree with both of those things, but
Well, yeah, if you got thoughts, go to Cap's Letterboxd and look at his rating of all superhero movies. And you yell at him there.
yeah, just yell at me over there. I need to... And of course, that's kind of starting over now that we're doing the commentary project. Spider-Man 2, number 14. Yeah, I see that as still being in the top 20 for a lot of people. I don't know if I would put it there, but I'm not gonna argue with it. Number 15. Smoking causes coughing.
What the world is that?
The hell is that? 2022. I've never heard of this.
I gotta check that out. I might have to watch that. It's gotta be a foreign film, I'm assuming.
If it's not, it's weird that I haven't heard of it. Only half the audience liked it. I'm just trying to see what this is even about.
Oh, like some superhero.
A wildly inventive new comedy from Quentin Dupieux.
Oh, John Waters likes it. Ooh, that's troubling.
Misadventures of a team of 5 superheroes known as the Tobacco Force. Oh yeah, this sounds wonderful.
This sounds like The Specials or Mystery Men or
it's true.
One of those.
15.
Oh my gosh! Look at
based on
the bad guy. Looks like a straight up Power Ranger villain. He's like a big turtle. All he's missing is the stoplight on his head.
Oh really? Oh he looks like Shell Shock.
Yes.
Wow, were you watching the?
Wow, dude, we need to do a blind commentary on this like immediately. It looks like if we just watch it without the words, I'm sure we'd like it better.
I'm not gonna play the trailer. Well, we can watch it with subtitles.
No, I'm just saying it looks to be like a raunchy thing, but
great.
It looks like
maybe an After Dark thing then.
Maybe. Anyway.
Okay, Spider-Man: Homecoming, number 16. That is my favorite still of the live-action Spider-Man movies. So, and I think it has probably the best performance for a MCU villain. So that's a little high, but I'm okay with it. Guardians is at number 17. That definitely deserves to be on the top 20, and I would maybe even put it a little bit higher myself. Avengers is at 18. So we're still not even seeing Infinity War yet, DJ, but Endgame was in the top 10. And I think Infinity War is a better movie than Endgame.
Yeah, so far this list makes sense for Rotten Tomatoes because it's like the safe, like crowd-pleasing kind of universally liked kind of movies.
Yeah, well,
even though we're not in the group that likes Ragnarok, it is pretty universally tolerated by most people.
Yes, but I've rarely met a person that wasn't a kid that really liked Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and somehow that is at 19.
Wow.
Look at this, folks. Teen Titans Go to the Movies is must-watch superhero fare. 91%. Critics' consensus, Teen Titans Go to the Movies distills the enduring appeal of its colorful characters into a charmingly lighthearted adventure whose wacky humor fuels its infectious fun and belies a surprising level of intelligence. Except it's also really cynical and... but I mean, like I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, and I've liked it less every time I've seen it. But it's not top 20 material, most certainly. Let's see if people in the comments are booing that. Anybody booing that? Not yet, but they will. I guarantee it. Okay, moving right along. RoboCop. I appreciate that this is on this list. I always feel vindicated when RoboCop shows up on superhero things because I've argued with people for years that he is a legitimate superhero, and it's in the top 20. So I feel good about that. That should be that high, if not a little bit higher. Far From Home at 21,
Whoa.
90%. Yeah, you and I are just not going to get a break when it comes to Spider-Man, DJ. Well, I guess we do with the Spider-Verse movies because we like those. But like, if you're like me, DJ, the Spider-Verse movies are too high, and everything else is also too high.
Yeah, I mean, Far From Home, I had a better viewing first time, I guess. So if we're going like first time viewing, I didn't love it, but that's one that I definitely like less and less every time I watch it. Yeah. And then we did Marvel Mania, and I had to watch it 2 more times.
Yeah, and I had the worst watch I've ever had, thanks to you. Like, I feel like you have messed me up with that movie. Because you're just right about it. It's not great. I would have come to that on my own, certainly. But not that I gave it like a glowing recommendation when it first came out, I don't think. Number 22, Captain America Civil War. That was in my top 10 for the decade, and I think that's probably about right. If not, again, a little bit higher. I could see Civil War being in the top 20, maybe.
Yeah, it's great. It's still got Tom Holland's best performance as Spider-Man. Or should I just say Tom to make him mad?
Do you think I was personally attacking you when I said that?
No, I just brought it up because I listened to your video last night.
I did a rant last night on Geeks Not Nerds where I complained about people using or referring to famous people by their first names like they know them, and the big kind of caveat I put at the front of that, what the big disclaimer was, I know half the people I know do this, and I'm being a jerk and calling out all my friends, but this is a thing I don't like. 23 is Shazam. Do you find yourself looking at this list going, yeah, if some of these movies were released today, the percentage would be lower?
I don't know. I haven't gone back to Shazam. I watched it once. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and then I never thought to go back to it.
But I don't think Shazam 2 is different enough to have like garnered no interest and have it and had a much lower score. I mean, it's not as good as that movie, but it's not different enough. It just feels like the world is somehow already quite a bit different from when that movie came out.
It's been a while.
It's hard to explain why. 19. It's only been 4 years. The Suicide Squad is at 24, and it took me 4 times to really appreciate that movie, but I do think that's probably about right. I'd maybe put that a little bit lower, but that is an excellent superhero film. Days of Future Past is at 25, which DJ and I disagree on, but that is in probably my second favorite, maybe third favorite. No, it's my second favorite. I mean, First Class might technically sort of be better, but I think I just appreciate that movie more. It speaks to me more on a personal level. But yeah, I appreciate that that's in the top 25. It probably doesn't deserve to be any higher than that, but 90%. Lego Batman movie is at 26. I like that movie. I don't know if it should be that high.
Well, it's Batman.
It shouldn't be over Winter Soldier.
It's a shame that that's the only second Batman movie we've seen so far.
Now, isn't that weird?
We haven't even seen the 2 best Batman films.
It's over, it's over Begins? And where is the Batman on this list? Because it has to be updated that far now because a cross is on it.
Yeah, it's just not as liked, I guess.
Okay, this list is BS. I'm done. Screw this list. How is Lego Batman movie over Winter Soldier? And again, I get that it's just it's just percentages, but I don't know how the tiebreakers are done. Like, we look at this, we have a bunch of 90% all in a row. What dictates which one goes over which one? Like, is that explained?
It might just be alphabetical because Batman and then Captain America.
Oh, maybe so. Oh, okay. Well, then this is kind of a waste of time, really. But we're going to do it anyway.
Blow through the 90%.
You know what? We're committed now.
Holy crap! We just got a $50 super chat. We are almost we're almost to the goal already, guys.
Wow! Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you, Gooster. Wow. We will try to spend at least as much time on that super chat. We'll spend a quarter of the time on that super chat as we're spending on this lead-in topic.
We will not spend time on the 90s. We got to blow through all the 90 percentages.
I was gonna say there aren't 90s. It only goes to 88. Yeah, I've never been like the best at statistics or math in general, but I don't really understand this how this list is put together. And I looked at the top with the the blurb in the blog before the article starts, and I didn't see any explanation about it. So anyway, moving right along. This makes me cry. Lego Batman movie over Winter Soldier, and Winter Soldier should be in the top 20. And that is just an objective truth that everyone must agree with me on. And then Spider-Man is at 28. That's all right. I can see that in the top 30. I hate to say, like, for historical performance or for historical importance, if nothing else, but yeah, kind of. Big Hero 6. 29. I like that movie, like
It's a great
critically,
movie.
way more than I even realized when I wrote about it. So that definitely deserves to be
I've only seen it once, but I loved it the first time. I need to rewatch it.
high on this list, and maybe even a little bit higher, honestly. Doctor Strange at number 30, okay, 89%. Ant-Man and the Wasp, 87% at 31. That has gotta be a lot of lukewarm. It's not bad enough to say it's bad. Like,
yeah, people were in a good mood when they watched that. That's kind of what I did. I was like, well, it's not. I didn't hate it as much as the first one. It's fine. It doesn't
nothing
take any
happens in
swings
it
at all. It's just nothing. It's just kind of, as the kids say, mid.
The end of, I still don't understand what that means, and you know what? I don't even care. I don't even want to know. I'm thinking about making a video where I go through modern slang and just try to educate myself on what it all means.
No, I think you should not look up stuff and just try to guess what it means. That would be a great video. Old Man Logan. Just call it Old Man Logan reacts to slang.
Actually, that's a really good idea.
I'm just full of good ideas tonight. You're gonna get a Tick costume and go see Blue Beetle. I should write stuff down. I'm very.
You're coming up with all the super chat goals that we're gonna do for the next, 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, write them all down.
To,
some of these I'll do. Some of them I won't. I can't get a Tick costume together at that short notice. Ant-Man and the Wasp. That movie's finale should have been its first act plot point. I stand by that.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises, 87%. If that movie came out now, or if critics saw it 3 times, it would not be this high. And I can't tell you the number of people, and I predicted this. I wasn't sure if I was right about it at the time, but I see people all the time coming back, now, what is it, 11, 12 years later, and going, oh yeah, I watched that movie again. It didn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, a lot of people were just so high on those movies and on Nolan. Yeah, at that point, they were kind of ignoring, plot holes that you can drive a truck through, and really sappy dialogue writing. And
yeah, I haven't seen that since the theater. I saw it once and was bored to tears, so I'm never gonna revisit that again. But Dark Knight Rises over Captain Underpants. That's a crime. I'm kidding. I've never seen Captain Underpants.
I haven't either. There's a couple people that keep complaining that I always say that I've reviewed every superhero movie that's come out in the theater since 2009, but I didn't see Captain Underpants.
It's got a Weird Al song in it.
Yeah, no, I know. I found that out later. That was not on my radar. I just missed that release when it came out, so it'll wind up on a Superhero Rewind commentary that 45 people will watch. Sorry, I'm not even showing the screen right now. As always, no disrespect to anybody that still really loves Rises. It's just, I'm just reporting. I am hearing a lot of people coming back to it later, going, I don't know, it wasn't great like I thought it was, and that's happening a little bit with Ragnarok, although still not as much as I might have expected, even this many years later. And I think some of the folks that are coming to that, it's because they're seeing the light after seeing his sequel. X-Men First Class, 34.
Now we're getting into DJ's favorites. These two are two of my top.
Yeah, and it should be higher. The Batman was only at 85%. And how much of that do you think is just kind of a not my Batman kind of thing?
Well, I think all 3 of these are not for everybody. I love them. They're for me, but Hellboy 2 is not for everybody. X-Men First Class isn't for everybody. So it makes sense that it has a lower score.
No, you're absolutely right. Those are not the most accessible movies, which is one of the things I like about them. They take risks.
Yeah, same thing with the Batman. I love that it's just what it is. It doesn't try to please everyone.
Although I think Hellboy 2 is probably more of a crowd pleaser than the first film, if you bothered to go look at it.
Yeah. I think for general audiences, I think for people, for occult-loving people, I always hear that they like the first one better. Like John likes the first one better, and Austin likes the first one better. Like people that are there for that kind of stuff. But Hellboy 2 goes more into a fantasy direction.
Or that we're already big Hellboy fans, yeah. Because I don't know that material enough to have an opinion about that. Infinity War, 85% at 37. Nope. Incorrect. Especially based on some of the movies that are above it. You've got Teen Titans Go to the Movies in the top 20. Hilarious. But no, I think Infinity War is easily a better movie than Endgame and should be in probably the top at least 25. But I would probably personally still put Civil War above it. I don't know where you're at with that. You've probably done a ranked list of these.
I should. This is making me want to do a top 20 superhero films.
Well, and I should go back and do a ranked list of all of MCU again, because Eric and I did that a bunch of years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, and there have been plenty that have come out since then. But I will go on the record right now and say, if I rank MCU again on camera, I probably will leave out the MCU or the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah. Man, I remember when those first came out and people were like, it was such a question like, oh, we're going to include those. Oh, we got to put them on Letterboxd so we can put them on our lists. And now everybody's like, never mind. I don't want to have to rank those.
Well, and I think a lot of people are going to barely think of them as canonical even when they're connected to the movies. Like, they're just not going to care.
Yeah. I'll just watch. I mean, I would like a physical copy of Hawkeye and WandaVision. That's about it.
I agree. I don't think there's another one of those shows that I necessarily have to own. Yeah, and I mean, I liked Loki more than a lot of people, but I don't need to own that. I didn't like the ending.
I could see you wanting that if the second season's really good.
Yeah, fair enough. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 85% at number 38. That's fair. Deadpool is at 39. Yeah. Of course, not for everybody. I think that's a better movie than that. Personally, I would put that higher. X2 is at 40. I'm done. Forget it. I'm done. Screw it. I'm not doing this. Screw it. X2 should be in the top 25. Deadpool 2 at 41. Well, at least the first Deadpool is higher than it. Personally, I think this is actually a totally fair placement, if not a little bit lower, because I don't think that movie remotely lives up to the first one, especially the more that I see it. Batman Begins at 42.
What is going on?
Well, you know what? My consolation for that is that at least it's the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. But
yeah, Batman Begins is the answer.
Because I think that's just accurate. That's just fair. But yeah, 84%. And again, it's weird because I feel like
that's crazy. That's one of the best, man. That's top 10.
Yeah, that should be top 10. Obviously, it would be for me.
The Crow, I have not seen. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping.
And then we put Wakanda Forever just under Begins. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's not right in relation to Begins, but I guess in relation to the list, right in the middle is probably right where that should be, I guess.
Yeah, if we move around half of what's on this list but leave that there, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
The Crow. The Crow I gave a 4 to when I first reviewed it on Rewind, and I stand by that. I think The Crow is top 2025 superhero movie material. Now, I may have now put too many movies myself on that list. Like, there might not be enough that actually, they might not all fit, because I keep saying, no, that's top 25. I don't know if it all fits. But at least take a bunch of stuff off.
Whoa, we have hit the goal. We have already hit the goal.
My goodness.
Alex
I haven't
Barron,
even been looking at the
Alex
chat.
Barron coming in with another $50 super chat, and his first super chat ever.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what that means, and we'll do it right now.
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride.
Thanks a lot, man.
I wanna take you for a ride.
And look forward to us responding to it in about an hour.
Man, we got to do something. I'm going to come up with the super chat goals from now on. Good grief.
Yeah, you really should. I was gonna go higher than that, but I promised not to go crazy with it because I knew people really wanted me to do that. So
Scott Simmons wants the gong.
I lowballed it a little bit. Well, the gong, we've been reserving for actually reading the questions,
yeah.
But I'll give it to you because you asked this time. Okay, we're halfway there. Let's roll through these a little quicker.
Yeah.
Darkman at 45. I like that movie better than that, but if you put all the right movies before it, it might not be much higher than that. Superman 2 at 46, that's a crime. It has to be higher than that just for Terrence Stamp's performance, if nothing else. I get that it's cheesier than 1, but the ending kind of works better. Ant-Man at 47. At least it's not any higher than that.
That makes sense. I hate that movie, but I understand why people like it.
X-Men number, and I don't hate it, but I'm somewhat indifferent. Not as indifferent as I am to its sequel.
Oh, look, it is on this list.
Oh my goodness! Look at that. Blue Beetle is one of the top 50 best superhero movies ever made, folks. Just wait, 79%. I don't want to read too much else about that since I've not seen it yet. And it's kind of weird reading something on this list that I've not seen yet, besides whatever that, like, smoking movie was. X-Men from 2000 is at 48. That's a better movie than that. That should be a little bit higher. Hellboy at 50. That is a better movie than that. Batman Returns. Probably a worse movie than this, honestly. No, 51.
Above Phantasm.
Might be, but it's above Phantasm. What happened back then? Or I say back then, like, I want to know how many of those reviews are contemporary and how many of them are modern.
But it's not a bad score. 81 is good. It's just these other things got higher score. Well, and Returns also got 81, so they might just be going in chronological order.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, it shouldn't have the same score that Mask of the Phantasm has. One of these has, what do you call it? A story? One of them has style. The other one has both style and a story. Immediately, that should get you at least a couple percentage points above. But like I said, I also just really wonder how much of that 81% with Batman Returns is, and really both of them, is from reviews from now, from more recently.
Yeah, I would assume it have to be. Oh, speaking of masks.
The Mask, 80%, 53. Again, I love that movie. I think that it should probably be maybe 10 points above this, but
I haven't seen that one.
I'm glad it's on the list. First Avenger. Like, I don't know how you'd feel about it now, especially not really caring for Jim Carrey. But, you know, I love it and loved it.
I like live action cartoons on film.
Well, you should finally see
I like
that
the Great
then.
Race. I like the Popeye film.
And I've never seen Great Race. First Avenger is only at 54. You're going to say that should be higher.
Two more of DJ's favorites right here. I love Dredd. I love Captain America First Avenger.
Yeah. Dredd is great. But another movie that's not really for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Captain Marvel at 56. Another movie that I think if it came out right now would have a lower percentage than that. There's a lot of goodwill that comes behind that score, I think.
How in the world does Black Widow have a 79%?
I don't know how that has a 79. Maybe 5 people saw it when they reviewed it. No, I'm sure that's not true. Iron Man 3
should be way higher.
Was divisive, but that should be higher. Birds of Prey should not be on the list.
Birds of Prey should be number 8.
Let's move on. Thor.
I'm kidding. I'm just speaking for the cut.
Thor's another movie that, especially these days, is kind of divisive. I think in retrospect, it's the best of those movies, but that's not saying anything.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that's the best Thor movie we have.
So, like, I kind of simultaneously think that its other movies are too high, and that this is maybe about right. Like, no, it should probably be a little bit higher than that. Age of Ultron at 61. I like that movie probably more than a lot of people do, so I would probably put that a little bit higher. Kick-Ass is at 62. And at this point, we're just getting to a place where there's so many movies, I don't even know if the numbers are making sense anymore. Batman is at 63. I'm not gonna shed any tears over that. That's another movie that I love, but it's not a great story or anything, so it should probably be in the top 50, but whatever. Superman Returns, I mean, leave it off the list if you possibly can, and certainly don't put it over V for Vendetta.
Yeah, V for Vendetta is great, but yeah, another thing that's not for everybody, I get.
Amazing Spider-Man, you and I like a lot better than this.
Yeah, it should be a lot higher, but I understand, especially when it came out, I know people weren't down for it.
It was not the right time. Yeah. For that movie, most assuredly. Iron Man 2, 67. Are you ready? Agreed?
I don't even know if I like it that much.
Batman from 1966 at 68. I appreciate that it's in the top 88.
Yeah, that's
like
fun.
I'm glad that's there. Defender, I'm happy to see on this list. That's
and
great.
Sky High too.
And Sky High. Now this is really good because for being, you know, smaller, kind of more independent movies. I mean, I realize Sky High was made by Disney. No, DreamWorks, right?
No, Disney, but they gave it the budget of a car commercial.
That's true. Anyway,
special effects look terrible, but it's a great movie.
With some of these other really big budget things I'm looking at that I like, I'm looking at they're probably not even fair, but I'm looking at their numbers and I'm like, what is that doing at 65? Defender at 69, Sky High at 70. I'm like, good job, you're on the list. Way to go, you guys.
And of course, Flora and Ulysses.
The hell is that? From 2020. Doesn't even look like a superhero thing.
The Disney Plus.
It's a friggin' squirrel. Wait, it's a Disney Plus movie? No, you don't get to be on here if you were on Disney Plus. Screw that.
Did they make a Squirrel Girl movie not related to Marvel? What's going on?
Agreeable, if not exceptional. I can't wait to see this.
The agreeable Flora and
A
Ulysses.
furry twist on the superhero genre.
All right, guys.
It doesn't even look like a superhero thing.
All right, guys, send in those super chats for the blind commentary of Flora and Ulysses.
Oh, the goal for that's going to have to be $15. Now we move on to Megamind. I'm glad to see that on the list. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm glad it's not any higher than that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's fine. It's probably still too high.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting ahead.
Yeah, what is Unbreakable doing at 75? That's way too low, of course. The Wolverine I like more than this, but I wouldn't expect it to be super high. Toxic Avenger shouldn't be on this list. That's very strange.
Yeah.
I don't know how that has a 70%. That's wild.
Wow. And then, of course, people don't like Incredible Hulk. I love it, but I get it. It's not really a superhero film if you're there for superhero stuff, so I get it.
Yeah, it's still better than 77.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
But yeah, it's going to be very uncomfortable the day I finally do the Toxic Avenger movies. And now that I'm doing blind comment, or not blind, but now that I'm doing the Rewind commentary project, it's going to be even weirder because I'm not just talking about it. You're going to have to watch me watch it. Well, you don't have to, and you probably shouldn't, really. Incredible Hulk, like you said, 77. We're getting there, folks. We're almost at the end. Rocketeer at 78. Again, I'm just glad that it made it. Now Toxic Avenger sequels are showing up. That's unfortunate.
Toxic Avenger 4 above The Flash.
That was worth the whole exercise. Worth the whole exercise.
Dark World on this list? That's crazy.
Yeah.
What were we all smoking when Dark World came out? Like, nobody likes that movie now. It must have been we were still on the high from Avengers and the first wave, I guess.
You know, we were just appreciative that MCU existed.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, if this is as bad as it gets. And honestly, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, at the time that was. And it's like, the
given where we're at now, yeah. Aquaman at 82. That's probably fair. Watchmen at 83. I get that. I was kind of surprised that the score wasn't higher than that at the time. And
well, it's the theatrical cut, too.
That's true. Yeah. No, that's a good point. If they had put... How much better do you think that's scored if the director's cut is put in the theater?
It's still probably pretty divisive, but it might be like a 70.
I was going to say, it might gain 4 or 5 percentage points. Okay, Thor Love and Thunder at 84.
How? I've never heard one person say that was a thumbs up.
Okay, so here's what's weird. Yeah, 63%. Here's what's weirder about that. The fact that Love and Thunder is at 84 and Ragnarok is at 11. Those movies, for my money, are just not different enough for that disparity. Like, that's very strange.
Well, yeah.
Just to me. Spider-Man 3 at 85. I'm sorry, what?
No. Spider-Man 3. Oh, hey, Powerpuff Girls.
I'm going to celebrate this. Powerpuff Girls is on the list. Yay for that. Look, guys, there's a lot of superhero movies now. Hulk at 87.
Hey, that's cool to see. I'm glad to see that.
Mystery Men at 88. Oh, it actually keeps going. So we said top 88, but it keeps going. Oh, 89 now. Okay. And
88 plus Swamp Thing.
And Swamp Thing. Well, it's nice that Wes Craven got a superhero movie on the list, I guess. Okay, and there it is, folks. There's the 89 top superhero movies according to Rotten Tomatoes. Anything notable that immediately comes to mind that you're noticing was not on the list at all? Because we just looked at a bunch, so nothing's immediately coming to my mind. Suicide Squad is not even on the list.
The Suicide Squad, yeah.
No, the original. Which means that 2 Toxic Avenger movies are there, but not Suicide Squad. I'm going to say that about everything that didn't make the list. That gets hilarious, right? Like, are they deciding that Joker just doesn't count? Because that should have been in the top 20 with the score. Why doesn't it count if Suicide Squad counts, though? It's based on comic material.
That's a good point.
No Punisher movie?
No Punisher movies. No.
Kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, none of the, like, barely, it was just Spider-Man and X-Men and Hulk from the early days. Like, none of the Fantastic Four, none of the...
Daredevil,
no Ghost Rider, obviously.
Which means all those things are probably between 30, 40, 50%.
There's so many superhero movies.
Really interesting. Okay, well, like I predicted, we wrote this up to about the break. Why don't we tackle one question, if there's something that you see that you think I can do in 5 minutes, and then we'll take a break, and we will devote the second hour to nothing but Q&A. I want to thank all of the super chatters for already getting us past the goal, and we'll have time to take plenty more, I am sure. Go ahead, DJ.
All right. The first super chat we got before we announced the goal was from TH1 for $10.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
If streaming got rid of the ad-free option and only had 3 ads at the beginning for premium users and gave their exclusives a limited physical release and a digital release, would that be enough to save them?
Okay, so Tom is obsessed with trying to save or make streaming services profitable. He's been leaving super chats a lot lately, the last couple shows, about his ideas for changing the way ads are placed in order to solve the whole thing. And no offense to Tom, but it all just sounds real kind of complicated to me. So read that one more time. So he's saying instead of limited ads, you have 3 at the start. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's saying completely get rid of the ad-free option, which would make people really mad. And
yeah, I think that's immediately a giant mistake. The problem is there are things you can't put back in the box, right? Like when people get used to that, they're like, "Why can?" Especially people that don't watch very often or that just don't mind commercials. If there's a like $6, $7, $8 a month option where you can just be interrupted occasionally by ads, and then the next tier up is almost twice that. It's not like when you take that option out, suddenly you're going to drop the price for your ad free or what he's talking about with the other, with just putting ads up front, because all of these services have raised their prices really recently. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
and then he says, yeah, only 3 ads and all at the beginning, kind of like Peacock does.
Peacock, yeah. I mean, I love that with Peacock. It's not enough to get me to subscribe to every service. Or is he suggesting make them... No, he's not suggesting make them all free because he said get rid of the ad-free option, right? Mm-hmm. Like is he's not suggesting doing it like Peacock, is he? Where you could... Well, sorry, because Peacock also has a free option and a paid option with ads, and then a totally free option, I think. But yeah, I think that would only really behoove a service if it could make itself completely free from the beginning and just be like YouTube and be ad substantiated entirely, where you go completely the YouTube model. But that would not be profitable enough to give these services enough money to make content themselves.
Yeah, ads. I mean, 3 ads wouldn't help you that much. It's not that much money.
No. Yeah, it's a matter of figuring out how to A, gain more revenue, and B, get more subscribers, and that doesn't do enough of either of those things. So yeah, Tom, I don't think you're gonna reinvent the wheel here, man. Like, I think what we're learning is that there's no way to make these services profitable if they're really, especially because people have gotten so used to the model, if they're making their own content.
Yeah, what we're learning is streaming does not work.
It just doesn't work.
We've invested too much into it, and now we can't get out.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to a 3.5-minute break, and we'll be right back for part 2 of the Captain Logan Show. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you're enjoying it. I hope you had fun going through that list with us. And like DJ said earlier, if you have any questions or comments about anything on that list, feel free to leave those too during the break, and we will see you again in just a little bit. And we're back. It's time for the second half of tonight's edition of the Captain Logan Show. We've got a few super chats, a couple of really hefty ones. And once again, I want to thank our audience tonight for being here and for helping us out on the channel. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for the support. That's the word I was looking for. DJ, throw us another question. And let's make interesting topics happen. That's on you guys, though, to make them interesting. Oh, DJ, I don't hear it. I don't hear any sound coming from your microphone.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
So you don't want me to dive into the two big super chats yet? Go to a pre-written first.
Oh, what are they not interesting?
Oh no, I just the way you said that, I thought you wanted like a shorter one first. I'll go ahead and jump in.
Oh no, not at all. No, we can go ahead and do one of those.
All right. Before those came in though, we got another one from T Edge. One about the I'm assuming about the topic, the Secret Invasion thing. He says $2. Oh. Will that stream be a Friday? You're awesome.
More than likely, yeah.
Cool,
will be next month sometime, probably. I can't promise how soon it'll be, but it will not be too far down the line. Next week, we're doing The Simpsons Season 4. I meant to announce that at the beginning of the show. I think I forgot it. But we're going to be doing the overview for that. Me and Austin and my stepdad Jeff will be on that show. I'm going to spend all this week watching Simpsons Season 4 and preparing for that. So look forward to that. People have been waiting for it for a long time. It's been a couple of years, I think, since the last one, and I didn't mean for it to take that long, but yeah, I've had twins in between. And I have another quick announcement before we move on, DJ, if I can. I found out this morning what the gender of our 6th child is going to be, and we're having another girl, believe it or not. So it's going to be half and half. We got a whole Brady Bunch thing going on.
Yes, that's the first thing I said when you told me you had another one. I was like, hey, you're one away from a Brady Bunch. Hey, that's awesome, man.
Isn't that wild? Our plan right now, and I don't think this is going to change, her name is going to be Autumn Rain. My wife and I just came up with that and love that name. It doesn't really go with anything. It'll be the first name that's not themed or geeky in any way. It's just a name that we like. But that is almost certainly going to be the name. It's weird because she's going to be born in December, right around Christmas, but her name's going to be Autumn. Sarah's like, look, if I deliver before the 19th, it'll fit. It'll be fine.
That's true. Winter doesn't start till way later than you think it does. So.
Yeah, and I've never accepted that.
I don't accept it.
I don't accept it.
We need to change the. Why can't we change it? Same thing with daylight savings.
You're telling me autumn ends 6 days before Christmas? Liar! Like I can't have that. It doesn't make any friggin' sense.
Summer doesn't start till super late. Like it's like June 20th or something, and like it's like 90 degrees here in like April. So
I think it should technically start at different dates depending on the region you live in, too.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like, why don't we have time zones for seasons?
I think you should start that. I think you should run for office with that as your campaign slogan.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted time zones for seasons? Old man Logan is your man.
At the very least. Hey, is that going to catch on? Is that just what people are calling me now? See, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be 40 next year, and when I get to the whole over the hill place, everybody's going to go. Do people consider, is it 40 or 50 where you're over the hill? I think it's 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what it is? And then everybody's going to start calling me Old Man Logan.
Old Man Captain Logan.
Old Man Captain Logan. But no, I was going to say the whole time zones for seasons thing. At the very least, it's like a mildly amusing stand-up routine. Anyway, let's go on to... so just to finish up on that, so my twins are only going to be 2.5 years older than their baby sister, and I think I'm probably going to just start telling people that we had triplets. One of them came very late. I think that's where we're at. So yeah, 3 boys and 3 girls. Nice. In a row. I've never known anybody that's had that. I don't know anybody that's even got 2 and 2 like that.
You should contact Guinness.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a record. I'm sure we're the only people that have done that specifically. I just haven't known anybody.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I haven't known anyone that had that many kids. Anyway.
Well, that's true, but I have because my wife is the oldest of 6, so we have tied her mom. We have the same amount of kids that she.
Yeah.
Did.
Well, I say that my mom has 5 sisters and 1 brother.
You mean outside of your own family?
Like,
but at one time that was outside of my family. I married into it.
That's true. That's true. All right, let's get into these big hefty ones here. This is from Goofster123. As soon as he heard about that Secret Invasion review, he was like, dropping my paycheck on this one, $50.
Oh my goodness, thank you, man.
He says, Cap,
yes.
DJ, with exclamation points. What are your thoughts on the last Ronin TMNT game announcement? What kind of game should it be? What would the super chat goal be for you, Austin and DJ, to watch She-Hulk? Oh, don't rope me into it.
Wow.
Don't rope me into it.
I can't promise DJ. I can't make DJ do anything on a late night like that. So I'll just say, if we did a super chat goal for that, DJ would be invited, but I could not promise you that he would be there, and he probably would skip it on principle. But I don't think it would be too hard to get Austin to do it. Like, if Austin's willing to do Secret Invasion, and he said, we haven't even talked about it, but he said in the comments on the live show last week that he was totally down for that. So I just made it the goal because it sounds like he's fine with it. But with She-Hulk, I mean, I would ask him first, but I bet he'd do it. I'm sure it would make for amusing content at the very least. Let me think about that and get back to you, but I may also make that a super chat goal at some point, but I'd probably wait until we've done Secret Invasion. I don't want to stack them up.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I fulfill the thing I promised first before we do the next one. But because that's a mistake I've made before with requests. But anyway, so I'll just say, if there is interest in that, I will make that a super chat goal, assuming that Austin is willing to do it. I don't want to do that alone.
I would only do it.
Yeah.
I'd hate to do it.
He's like, no, I actually would not do it.
And then down the road, we decide to do Marvel Mania and I have to watch it again.
There's no risk of that at this point because of the Superhero Rewind commentary project. The Manias, as far as superhero movies go, won't happen now past the series I'm doing now, just because I'm already doing regular commentaries. It's basically, I mean, we're doing them every 2 weeks like you and I were doing Mania, so it's essentially a forever Mania for superhero movies until I get them all done. Now, it's a little bit more prepared than Mania, or at least than the original Mania was, because you and I actually prepared a little bit more for ours.
It's probably right around the same what we were doing.
I'm doing a little bit more research for this. I didn't watch special features and commentaries and stuff when you and I did ours. I just watched the movie once, but this I'm spending more time on.
Cool.
I'm not doing the prep that I was doing for the unscripted rewinds. I was like taking meticulous notes and organizing them and basically preparing a lecture because I just don't have time to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get them out more than once every few weeks because that's very time consuming. But
that's the whole reason you're doing commentaries in the first place.
That's right, yeah. And I don't mean to be lazy, but I want to get them out, and people on the whole seem to be pretty jazzed about what we're doing now, and are at least open enough to it. We've been doing movies lately that not a ton of people care about, so the numbers aren't huge, but I think they're about what they'd be if I was just talking into the camera about them anyway. What was the rest of that? It was just, will we do She-Hulk? Is that all? Is that all that was there?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Really good idea, Goofster. But also, he asked what our thoughts were on the last Ronin TMNT game that was announced.
That was
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that was announced just the other day. I forget what studio is doing it. I only glanced at an article, and I thought about. I'm glad he brought that up because I thought about making that the lead-in topic for tonight a few days ago, and then I totally spaced it. So now I'm going to talk about it a little bit, I guess. But
I need to read that because it's gonna. I've been lucky that I haven't had it spoiled for me yet, but it's gonna be spoiled for me if there's a game coming out. I need to read that. I need to read that pronto.
Yeah, you should. A lot of people when that came out said this would make for a great video game. I'm glad it's happening. I'm not super surprised about it. It makes a lot of sense because you don't have to cheat to make a one-player campaign happen. Is one nice thing about it. So you don't have to figure out how to do any kind of multiplayer. It's a singular turtle in the first place. It's the last Ronin, and it's a little odd to be in a future like that when we haven't had a game at all like that for a regular Ninja Turtles continuity. But the nice thing is The Last Ronin is a lot like Dark Knight Returns, where it's familiar, but it's basically its own universe. So a lot of people like to look at it like the future of Mirage just because Eastman and Laird's names are both on it. It's much more of like a universe once removed, or like almost an Elseworlds kind of thing. Like it, if you want to headcanon that, like, be my guest. I don't think about it like that. I don't think about that as the definitive end of the Mirage universe, especially because they're making sequels to it. It's going to keep going, and so I see it much more like a Dark Knight Returns kind of thing. And of course, heavily inspired by that. Every continuity, or every property, I should say, has to have its Dark Knight Returns or Old Man Logan or what have you, where it's the old disheveled version of a character that living in something of a dystopia, and But anyway, it's perfectly right for a game like that. You can go as dark as you want to with it. It won't be a kidified thing. That's nice. It's the closest to IDW material we're gonna get for a serious story-driven game like that. And Waltz wrote it, so I mean, it is IDW Turtles. It's just not that continuity, and I still kind of want that. But this is the next best thing, and The Last Ronin has a lot more fans than that run does, so that's understandable. I think it will sell well, and I think it will hopefully do what Arkham did and what like Shattered Dimensions did, and just make people that don't read comics more aware of some cool comic stuff and maybe finally pick up some of those books. I think it will do that for Turtles, probably. I don't know that it'll get them to look at IDW, but at least they'll pick up Last Ronin, and that's a good book. I've got some issues with the ending, but overall, it's quite good. So yeah. I'm excited about it. I think it's wonderful that's happening.
And as far as you said, what kind of game should it be, Goofster? It should be, I mean, they should incorporate stealth stuff for like the first time in a Turtles game. It should be, I mean, as annoying as that stuff is in the Spider-Man game, that's because it's Spider-Man. But with Turtles, it makes perfect sense. It should be a stealth game.
I'll be surprised if it's not straight up an Arkham clone.
Yeah.
I hope it innovates to some degree and is maybe more stealth-based than that. I mean, it should look like, for like lots of obvious reasons, it should look more or less like what we've always imagined for a Daredevil game, except that you have normal person senses because you can see because your eyes work. But other than that, but I mentioned Dark Knight Returns. Like, some people rolled their eyes when Last Ronin came out and was like, God, we even have to do this with Ninja Turtles. And I'm like, yeah, but Ninja Turtles was originally a parody of just Frank Miller in general. And it's kind of nice, that we're using the word Ronin, because the Turtles comics weren't just looking at Daredevil and Dark Knight Returns, but they were also looking at Frank Miller's book, Ronin. And so it's just kind of perfect material. So in some ways, it should feel like a Frank Miller game.
Next time I say something and someone says, "How do you know that?" I'm going to be like, "Because I can see, because my eyes work."
Because I have eyes, and they work.
It's like that Friends quote where she's like, "How did you know about that?" He's like, "Through the magic of sight."
But I'm certainly excited about that. I think I read that it's not exactly AAA. Like, I don't think it's a huge well-known company making it. So I don't know if it'll feel budget at all. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong, because again, I mean, I could pull an article up about it. I skimmed an article about it.
The nice thing is I can't think of anything that would be better fit to be an Arkham clone than Ninja Turtles, because it's got stealth stuff, it's got the hand-to-hand combat stuff. It'll work. Even if it is just a clone, it'll work for Turtles.
So you're saying even if it's maybe a little bit disappointing that it's not trying anything new, it's just going back to that well, it's appropriate. Like, if you're gonna make an Arkham clone, you might as well make that. It's sort of like when Dante's Inferno was just another hack and slash, clone of God of War. It's like, yeah, but it fit that material well enough.
But one thing they do...
I love that game, and it was just God of War again. The only problem with it was that... And I hope this game doesn't have this problem. The only problem with it was too many of the same enemies. like recycled level to level.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Spider-Man game too. It's a lot of the same thugs over and over.
Yeah.
The one thing that this Turtles game has to nail though that isn't the same as Spider-Man or Arkham is they have to nail a roof jumping system. Like,
oh, good call.
That's as important as web slinging. It's like that you have to be able to run and like without stopping get really good at being able to jump and flip and just jump through rooftops throughout the building like they do.
You're not going to have a grappling hook.
No, you have to be able to.
You don't have webbing. You don't have a grappling hook.
Have to be close enough together, or there have to be like lampposts in between that the turtles can just run through the city because that would be so fun to run.
I'm glad you said that. That's a really good point.
It's turtles.
I'm looking at Gizmodo.com here. Last Ronin's game adaptation is intended as a way for the Turtles to break into the AAA gaming leagues, so they're calling it AAA. It was first revealed back in March over at Polygon. I thought I had heard that this was happening, but we have more details now. At the time, Paramount Senior VP for Games, okay, Paramount, Doug Rosen described the title as a third-person action RPG in the vein of Sony's recent God of War games. So it could be a combination of Arkham and more of a hack and slash, and that might make it feel fresher, even though both of those things are very familiar and routine, right? So it would have more of a stealth component than something like God of War. You're not going to always just jump into a group of bad guys and take them and start like stabbing the crap out of them, but you are going to stab the crap out of them.
No, that's the Night Watcher game.
What'll be really neat is if you have access to all four of the turtles' weapons. You're a singular turtle, but you're using all of their weapons.
Yeah,
I'm sure it does that. I just don't have to pick them up across the city. That'd be stupid.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Is that going to be a new like PS5 title probably?
Yes, it's going to be PS5, PC, and the Xbox Series systems.
Oh well then I'm screwed.
Yeah. I haven't had enough of a reason to get any of the next gen or either of the next gen systems yet, and I know Spider-Man 2 is coming out, but I didn't want to buy it for the one game, and like I'm okay waiting, because I know I'm never gonna play it, and it's a lot of money. So I don't know, but that plus RoboCop plus this game, maybe one or two other things could be enough to finally put it over the edge and make me feel like I finally have to get one.
Yeah. 3 games sitting on the shelf not getting played is better than 1 game sitting on the shelf not getting
I'll
played.
feel a little bit better about the money I wasted on it. Yeah, look, if it's a major property that I love and I'm into the gameplay enough, I make the time. Like it's really easy to say I don't have time to play video games. Like that's true, but then if it sucks me in and I get obsessed enough, I will make the time. So like I had that with the Arkham games. I put a lot of hours into those that I didn't have, but they were too good. I couldn't help myself. So hopefully this is like that. RoboCop looks like it could be that way.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Wolverine game is really good. I'm still very intrigued by. There's a lot of superhero games. Like we could be in a renaissance pretty soon for superhero games. And if
movies die out or slow down, we could maybe switch over to games again.
Well,
we used to get so many games.
Dude, that would be actually incentive for me to go ahead and get a system and start playing these games because I'd have something to review if I wanted to do more new stuff. Because if superhero movies slow down, I know I'm going to probably get inundated with more interest in game reviews. People are going to be like, well, that's where the superhero stuff is now. Talk about that. And then the question is going to be, do I stream it? Do I just talk about it? What exactly do I do? So.
Yeah, you got to change. You can't call them Cap Can't Play, though.
No, I'm going to need to be able to play them.
You got to rebrand it.
If I'm streaming those, I'll do a playthrough first and make sure I know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah. But more likely to just, I don't know, maybe I'll do like, first couple hours kind of gameplay, check in occasionally, do a little bit, and then do a, spoiler cast.
Yeah.
And Austin will be playing a lot of that stuff. Not Spider-Man 2, because he doesn't like that first game, but some of that other stuff. I need to finish playing through the Guardians game. I'll talk about that for the 5 people that care, which sucks because it's really good, but it didn't sell because Avengers did so poorly that nobody bought it, even though it's good.
Interesting.
It really sucks.
All right, well, I think we got some good mileage out of that.
We spent a lot of time on that, but it was $50, so hopefully nobody begrudges me that. Thanks a lot to you, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much, Goofster. And then the next gentleman, Alex Barron, with another $50.
Oh, sorry. Code Geese makes a really good point. None of the Turtles movies were on that list.
That's true.
No Blade movies were on that list.
That's very true.
Wild.
Turtles 1 would be in my top 20 probably.
Same here.
I really want to do a top 20 now. Maybe I should have you on my. You should come on my channel. We should do a top 20 or something. Oh, that's a lot though. That would be like a 5-hour video. Top 20 is a lot. Maybe top 5, top.
No,
10.
but we could run through them a little bit faster. I mean, I talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm gonna.
10's too hard. I'd rather do 20. And I'd rather do that on your channel than mine because of the whole Rewind project, because I'm already ranking them as I'm going. If I'm going to, make up a list, I'd rather go somewhere else and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, name the time and place, and I'll be there for that.
Yeah, I'm in the mood to do a top 20 now, because my list would be really weird, probably.
Yeah,
Alex
let's do it. It'll be
Barron.
funny.
Cap, this is another $50. It's Canadian money, but we'll accept it.
I
Thank
really
you, Alex
appreciate it,
Barron.
man.
Cap, you've said that it's a mistake for writers to begin with theme.
Yeah.
But I wonder
Typically.
if you think theme has any practical use for writers. I think theme can be a great tool for constructing characters by giving them different views on a central idea.
I think it comes very often naturally out of a characterization and then premise of whatever it is you're working on. So, as I've said before, unless you're doing a straight-up morality tale or a like a hard satire, I don't think typically it's really smart to go, today I'm gonna write a story about, I don't know, racism, or I'm gonna write a story about immortality. A lot of stories have components of those things, or have one of those things as a component that just kind of naturally is born out of a character's worldview. And if your character has really strong feelings about something, and you're writing, you're letting your character drive the action of the story, meaning that when he or she makes a choice, there are consequences. That's great. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. There are actions and then consequences, and the events of the story are created by the things that your character chooses to do in being proactive. Other characters are going to have their feelings also about whatever it is that your character is on about, and their worldview, their ideology, whatever it is. And so typically, and I say typically because there are exceptions to every rule, right? But usually I think it's better to bring those things out to the fore once you've got a first draft and you realize what your story is about. I think usually when you start with, I want to tell a story that's going to arrive at this particular conclusion, as far as, I want to make this big statement. I want to have this moral lesson at the end. It very often, and it can be done well, but usually it's a lot more stale when you go that way, because you pigeonhole your characters. And I think it's smarter to just let your characters do what they're going to do, and then and not think too much about theme as you're writing a story. It will feel more real that way. It will feel like these events are really happening. And then on a second draft, you can bring some of those thematic ideas more to the fore and explore those things a little bit more. Sometimes even on a first draft, though, that exploration will just naturally start to happen. I've always said, don't worry about, again, usually, don't worry about starting with theme, because if you are a human being and you have feelings about things, those feelings will come out in whatever it is you're working on. You will realize that your story is about something, and you'll figure out what that thing is. And I think stories with a very strong central theme are usually stronger if you, the writer, don't know what it's about until you really get into it. It's exactly like making a documentary. You don't want to, typically, you don't want to start a documentary with, okay, we're going to we're going to highlight how terrible Walmart is. It'd be better to just go to Walmart and see what's going on there, right? You might go assuming that your documentary at the end of the day is probably going to be about putting a spotlight on all the terrible corporate practices of this big evil company. But what if it didn't work out that way? It's Walmart, it probably would. But what if it did? What if it didn't? What if you had a different experience as you were interviewing? You wouldn't. But what if you did? And you had a different experience interviewing people, and you come out with a lot of interviews and material that goes against what you thought your central premise was going to be. Well, you don't want to force it into that. It's not going to ring true. So, when we made our comic shop documentary, probably in the back of my mind, I figured there would be, it would be about community to some degree, but that theme came much more to the fore than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And so in my cold open,
in
my cold open, I have one of the comic shop owners saying it's about community, and then we go to the opening credits, and he's just spelling out the theme of the movie, because that's what we kept running into as we went along. It's not like I wrote that line. You could have written that, and then it would feel like you started with, you're going to be really pushy. This is a thing about community, and let's just throw that around real hard as a buzzword. It just kept coming up, and so it naturally was that way. And you can tell looking at it that nobody was told what to say, and so it doesn't read forced. It doesn't read like you were playing favorites, or you were one-sided or whatever.
Yeah. Another great question, Mr. Alex Barron. Really thanks a lot for the super chat. We got one more super chat from.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Good old Jeffrey Patron.
Jeffrey Patron is in the house. Hello, Jeffrey, or he was anyway.
No question. Just wanted to donate $5.
Well, thanks, man.
Jeffrey Patron is awesome. I recently started a series on my channel called Noir Bar, because I got this book. My friend gave me this book called Noir Bar. So Grace and I are watching a noir movie and then making the cocktail that the book pairs with it.
Oh, that's neat.
First one we did was Mildred Pierce, and Jeffrey left a great comment on there, because that's right up his alley. He loves cocktails and he loves noir, and he loves Michael Curtis films, or Curtiz films. So
that's a cool idea, man.
Yeah, it was fun. So I'm gonna go to the regular chat questions from before the super chat, so feel free to leave any more of those in the chat, and I'll grab them.
Did I gong Jeffrey Patron?
You did not gong.
Okay, I've now gonged Mr. Patron. Half an hour left in the Captain Logan show, so feel free to throw in more questions if you're so inclined. We've got time now. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, we are ahead of schedule.
Cinematographic says somebody hijacked his question. I don't know what that means.
He had a similar question about theme.
Oh. Sorry, Cinematographic.
You've
been sabotaged.
Let me see. Where are we here? We got one from Daniverse.
Hello, sir.
Did you accidentally get into doing sub-series on your channels like Geeks Not Nerds, or you made us watch, or was it something you thought out?
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to accidentally make a series. I don't think you're sitting around one day and then you just left the camera on and you're like, well, I guess we need a concept for a series now. No, I'm kidding. I get the question he's asking. Yeah, GNN was planned almost from the very beginning. I started making Rewind, and I wanted Vince involved in the channel somehow. He and I were already doing a podcast together, and it was just kind of natural for us to go on camera and do topics. I didn't want the channel to just be one series. I liked the idea of exploring different geeky stuff, of doing kind of the students of pop culture thing, and so I thought it made a lot of sense to have two different shows, and have one that was scripted and one that was unscripted. Obviously, what we do now is quite a bit different. Partly for practical reasons, and you evolve as a channel as you go along. And then I just get excited about ideas I have, and it's YouTube. If you've got the time, it's pretty easy to sit down and talk about stuff and throw more stuff up. And so we just kept coming up with series ideas. And so we would throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and try different things. You Made Me Watch specifically was kind of the evolution of a series that Eric and I did before that called Netflix Roulette, where we would each pick a movie that neither of us had seen on Netflix, back when Netflix had a better movie selection. And we did probably 20 or 25 of those. I really enjoyed that. I really kind of spread my wings and learned a lot from that show. And then we started doing He Made Me Watch when we decided that Netflix had sort of dried up for interesting movie selection. And then we started just showing each other stuff that the other person didn't know, of course. And then when Eric moved here, we did a lot more of those because we could watch them together. And it was his idea, by the way, to start watching everything together in person. Because I kind of thought that we were just gonna keep looking at stuff on our own time, but we were living in the same house, so we started doing everything together. We would sit down and watch a thing and then talk about it directly after, and we did that for about 4 years.
Yeah, that was awesome. Both good shows, both good series. Some of my favorites.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we've occasionally come back and done that again or something like it. It seems like nothing really dies. Like Geeks Not Nerds is back.
Yeah. Let me see. John Henry. Which live-action adaptations are definitive characterizations matching or surpassing the material where new fans will understand your love for characters just by seeing the movies?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. This is a thing I talk about a lot, where
that could be a cool top 10.
If a movie has enough reverence for the original material, is a good enough representation of it, even if it takes licenses, it's not exactly what's off the page. You could call yourself a fan of it if that's all you loved, and you could call yourself a fan of it anyway. But the distinction is, I'm a fan of the movie version versus I'm a fan of the thing. So, for instance, if all you saw was the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie, and you said, I'm a Turtles fan, yeah, you're a Turtles fan. You're a fan of that property, not just this different enough version that I have a hard time accepting that. I don't think I'm prudish about it when I say that. Like if you said I'm a fan of The Mask based on the Jim Carrey movie, you're a fan of that movie because the comics are very different, and the movie I think is actually kind of better because I think the comics are too juvenile, and I would love to see. I've always said this. I would love to see a closer to the page version of The Mask, but it would have to be better than the comics because the comics aren't very good. So if you say I'm a fan of The Mask, well, you're a fan of a different iteration of it that's not really the same thing. If you said all I've seen is Sin City, or even Sin City and its sequel, and I love that, I'm a Sin City fan, but you never read the comics, yeah, you're a Sin City fan. You know, so those are some superhero and comic examples. But even with, or if you have a big enough, tell me if you agree with this, DJ, because I'm just kind of seeing what's coming to mind right now. Like I could disagree with myself after this because I haven't really thought this out this way. But could you say if there's a large enough quantity of different iterations with remakes and reboots now, because all this stuff has been around for so long. We have a lot of different versions of a lot of different things with superhero things, but also genre stuff in general. If all you saw were Batman movies or Batman screen stuff, you taking the good with the bad, yeah, and you love Batman, you're obsessed with Batman, but you've hardly ever read comics, yeah, you're a Batman fan. You know, but if all you ever saw was like Batman Forever, you're like, I'm a Batman fan? Yeah, kinda. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm wondering.
Am I answering the wrong question right now?
No, I think you're on the right. I think you're saying the same thing. I think he did say specific. Which adaptations are definitive characterizations? Matching or surpassing. So I guess he's
even better than what's on the page.
Yeah, well, he says, yeah, matching or surpassing. So I think like I've heard people say, and I haven't read a Batman comic in my life, but I've heard people say that the Batman is like really, really good comic book Batman. Like it understands the characterization pretty perfectly.
Yeah, it does, but it goes enough its own way that I don't know if I would call it exactly definitive.
Okay.
Just
But I don't know if we've had
just for my own
outside
taste.
of animation.
No, but animated series I would say has that. If we're talking just movies, the Batman gets the closest, but you need almost some kind of blend of like the Batman and Batman Begins, whatever that would look like. Because the problem with Begins and Dark Knight with that trilogy is it's not a Batman that does any detective work really.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a really good example of this.
My first one was Turtles, but you already said that one. I think that's pretty straight off the page.
Yeah, it is. It's not as violent and edgy as the comic is.
Yeah, but
it's
like
toned down
blend.
a bit. It's not quite as stylized.
Yeah, and I've never read Mirage, so I'm not really comparing it to that. But I'm just saying, like, distilling an average of all the Turtles media into one thing.
Yeah, he does a great job of that. But the distinction he's making is it's on par or surpasses the source material. I think it's a really good approximation, but I don't think it's on par or surpasses. I think it gets close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting question because he says surpassing the material where new fans will understand your love for the characters. So that's also like...
Yeah, the Guardians movies do that with the Guardians material.
That's true.
Most assuredly.
I want to meet the fan who's like, it's terrible adaptations. I like the original Guardians.
Well, I mean, there's probably people that feel that way with Abnett and Lanning's run. Particularly before 3 when we didn't even get to Cosmo and stuff like that. No, that's a valid opinion, certainly.
Yeah, I just want to meet him.
I think both the animated Tick and the Amazon Tick do this with in different directions.
Mm-hmm. Superman. We got Superman 70.
Yeah, 78. Yeah, I agree with that.
I was gonna say. I took it back because I know immediately as soon as I say it, people are gonna get mad at me. But I think if
no,
you
go ahead.
I was gonna say Watchmen, and I know people hate that because it's not exactly, but like, if you watch that movie, you understand the story of Watchmen at least.
Some people don't even agree with that because of emphasis and because of certain things that are left out and because of the style and tone of that movie. Austin would not agree with that.
Yeah, I know he hates it.
And no, he doesn't hate it. He just doesn't think that it's well, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he doesn't think that it's straight off the page as a lot of us felt like it was. And the last viewing I had with it was not the best viewing. I finally went back and watched it again a few weeks ago, and I am a little terrified to do it again and to do a commentary on it because the seams are starting to show a little bit.
Yeah,
I still love it. I just don't know if I would if I hadn't seen it then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how well it's holding up.
Yeah, but I mean, I know when you reviewed it, you liked the ending kind of better. So that would, or at that Captain Logan at the time would put it in the category of surpassing it a little bit.
Yeah, I need to look at them in close succession again because I haven't read that ending in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'll have that again. You know, and in my defense, I mean, it's been 14 years. Alex Barron, the Watchmen movie has the wrong attitude towards violence. It thinks violence is really cool, while the book thinks violence is horrifying. That is one of the big problems with that, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's just Snyder and everything he's ever made.
Well, that was the big complaint I had about it when it came out. But there were, I mean, yeah, it's stylish, and it does play a lot of the violence, like probably to, what's the word I'm looking for? That it's kind of glorifying it, but there were only a couple of examples that like really took me out with that because I liked the style of it as much as I did.
I also think it depends on your opinion on violence because I never think violence is cool. I'm always like when I watched that movie, I was very grossed out by the scenes that I think were supposed to be gross. Like the alley scene is supposed to be really brutal. The prison stuff with Rorschach is supposed to be brutal. I never thought that was so cool when he threw the frying pan in his face. Like,
yeah, but is the attitude of the movie like you're supposed to be repelled by this, or you're supposed to think this looks cool? And you cannot argue that it's the former with the way Snyder talks about violence.
well, I don't know how. I've never listened to the man talk, and I watched that a long time ago before I even knew who he was. So
Yeah, see, the problem is I've seen other Snyder things. You know, if in a vacuum all I'd ever seen was 300 and Watchmen, I would probably feel a lot more the same. But like the seams are showing, like I would have had a different review of Man of Steel if I had watched BVS right before I wrote that. Because I gave it too much credit, and then I saw some of what he was doing that were kind of hidden behind some better writing and stuff. Maybe not even better writing. I don't know. I mean that I understand a little bit more of what's happening in that movie, I guess. Plotting, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, Goofster, I think the ending of Watchmen, the movie, works for a cinematic adaptation, although the show proved that the squid could feasibly work. Yeah, the show makes a better case for it, certainly. But I didn't even feel like, I don't know, I guess I don't now feel so much like you just can't even put it on screen. I think in 09 it would have looked really silly, though. Like, there is that. Assuming that you've got the right effects and that money is, almost no object, like, let's just forget what it would actually look like. A lot of people's argument was you can't do the squid because, in a live action thing, even if the squid looks good, you're not going to buy people being duped by it as in Alien Invader or something. And I don't think I'm with that anymore. I think that could still work in the same way it does in the book. But I used to be on that, the other side of that argument.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because your argument was, if I remember your review correctly, was like you wouldn't buy, and I don't buy that if an alien invasion happened, we would all suddenly come together. Everything divides us. Like aliens especially would divide us. And I think using Dr. Manhattan as the scapegoat would be potentially more useful than.
No, I do think that's a lot more believable.
Yeah, believable than, oh, aliens, let's all suddenly join together.
But I guess what I'm saying is, I will concede that I think you can make me buy it on screen as much as I bought it in the book, but I never fully bought that ending.
Yeah.
Like, I had that when I read it. Like, as brilliant as I think Watchmen is, I always thought that ending was a little too easy.
Yeah, and I'm talking about a movie that I haven't seen in probably 10 plus years at this point, so I'm not going to say any definitive opinions on it.
Yeah. Jeffrey says, we would eat more calamari, and HBO was on the money for that. Okay, 15 minutes left in the show, if we have enough stuff to talk about.
Daniverse.
Hi.
I've got two more from Daniverse, and then I am tapped out of questions. So
okay. Well, if more questions don't come in, we'll just call it a night after that. Go ahead.
Add films by color. What's your opinion on watching silent movies?
There's some good movies from that era, so you should do that. One thing that's nice about watching silent movies is they're easier to talk over without missing too much.
That is true.
You can kind of do that.
Yeah, I recently had a friend over, and we watched War of the Worlds, which is not a silent film, but you can understand what's going on in the 50s War of the Worlds film without. We were kind of talking through the whole thing, so I couldn't give it a rating on Letterboxd because I couldn't tell you a word that was said on screen. But the visuals were awesome, and really liked the special effects and lighting in that film. But yeah, I wasn't paying attention enough. I couldn't hear. Wasn't listening to the dialogue. That's a cool movie. Cool looking movie.
Yeah, silent films are a form that I kind of wish didn't totally go out of style. I kind of liken it, I guess, to like 2D versus 3D platformers. Like, just because we had the technology to add sound doesn't necessarily mean that we should have stopped making movies that didn't. Or when I say
No,
sound, I mean dialogue. Particularly movies that didn't really require dialogue. Like, if you didn't want to make movies anymore where every few seconds you were interrupted with an intertitle that gave you the dialogue where there's an exchange, I think there's still a place for some of that. But I get not doing as much of that. But movies that are mostly visual storytelling that don't even have a lot of dialogue, there's, in the same way that we still sometimes will make movies in black and white because that can sometimes be more effective tonally, atmospherically. Why can't the same be said for silent film?
absolutely. It should not have. Same thing with 2D and 3D animation. Like, it's just because we're innovating doesn't mean we have to forget other. It's a medium. Like, silent film is a medium.
It's
It's
not
a whole
outdated.
way
We
of.
didn't make it better.
It's a way of storytelling. There are like I think his name is Eisenstein, Russian director at the time, who wanted to, like, when the sound era came, he was started experimenting with sound films, but he didn't not make silent films. He used sound in the film, like some of those early silent films. You use sound, but he didn't want to use dialogue. Like, he still didn't want people to be talking. He still wanted the story to be mostly visually told, but then you can use sound for other things like background noise and sound effects and stuff. And some of those early sound era films are like that. They don't have a lot of dialogue, but they have some sound effects. And like, if you watch one of Connor's favorite films is Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. It's a silent film, but there's sound in it, and it's really cool. Really
That's neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely think you can still tell it. 2012, Blancanieves is a Spanish film. It's an adaptation of Snow White, but it takes place in the 20s, and it's about this bullfighter, and it is amazing, and it is a silent film that came out in 2012, fully silent, fully black and white, incredible film, by far the best Snow White that came out in 2012. In a year where three Snow White films went to theaters, that one is by far the best.
That's ridiculous.
Check out Blancanieves. I like it a lot.
Yeah, John Ty, he's mentioning that there's, popular or, good 2D platformers now. Yeah, the point I'm making is it finally came back as a legitimate thing to do again, but we've not really done that with silent films. Not in general. You don't obviously you don't see a lot of that.
Jeffrey came back. He says, going back to DJ's earlier mentioning of the book Noir Bar, Cap, do you have any favorite noirs?
I'm rusty and I've not seen as much as I'd like to, of course. It's one of those genres where, in theory, it's one of my favorite things, and I haven't looked at enough of it, which is weird because I'm not a huge mystery guy, but
it doesn't seem like your thing.
Something about that style, I always kind of latch onto. I guess what I like more are, I'm not dodging the question, I'll answer it in a second, but something I tend to like more is others of my favorite genre done with a noir twist or with like a pinch of noir, if that makes any sense. So like a lot of my favorite superhero things have a lot of noir inspiration in them. Like I love the Jessica Jones show. The Batman has a lot of noirishness in it, etc. The Daredevil show, I don't think you can argue there's noir in that show. That and Jessica Jones, really. But anyway, so the most obvious old school noir is probably Maltese Falcon, and that's understandable because it is great. So that plus Chinatown, it's probably my two favorite at the moment. And I know I've seen more stuff, but those are the first two things that come to me that I remember liking a lot.
People mentioning some of their favorites: Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, obviously.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
I haven't either. We have it back there, but I haven't watched it yet. I think Grace picked it up in one of the last sales. But yeah, great question. Another person mentioned Double Indemnity. Billy Wilder is the greatest screenwriter of all time. That's true. All right.
DJ, let's do one more if you have any.
I got one more from Daniverse. If you could write a book of a particular subject.
I could, though.
What would it be?
I could write a book. No, so when you say of a particular subject, does he mean like a nonfiction book, or does he just mean any kind of book on any kind of topic?
It sounds, yeah. It sounds kind of like nonfiction-y the way he said that. I guess
Yeah.
any particular subject. I guess it doesn't have to be.
Uh,
He would write about raptors.
I have, yeah, I would absolutely. As far as fiction goes, I would write about raptors, and I do have a raptor concept that I've not started yet that I'm planning on writing uh, with a partner, and he and I have been talking about this for a year now. We haven't started it yet, but he started his research. I've got to get into that. We gotta get that going. But anyway, so yeah, there is a raptor book on the horizon. Hopefully that ends up coming together. But and it's very silly. As an idea, I have, as far as nonfiction goes, DJ, I don't know what exactly it would be, but I've always wanted to add something to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the discourse for Star Trek. Because I collect Star Trek reference real hard. Did I tell you about this, DJ? I finally cataloged my whole Star Trek book collection. Have we talked about this?
No, I know you have a massive collection.
Oh, I finally cataloged it because I was running into stuff in the wild, and I finally was at a place where I wasn't sure if I had certain things or not. So I got a database, and I got everything put together. I own in total about 600 Star Trek books.
Wow.
And 150 of those are reference. The other 450 are novels. And I figured out, I finally did some research and I figured out how many total Star Trek novels exist. And there's about 850, which means I'm halfway there. So I am going to go for a complete collection.
Wow.
I'm gonna
do a video on that. That would bring some people to the channel that
I should.
that aren't here already. Like my complete Star Trek collection, 450 or no, 600 titles.
600 titles, yeah.
Do you have them all up, or are they like in boxes somewhere?
No, they're all on shelves.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, eventually I need to add another one, but I've got them all over here in my Star Trek area, in the bunker here. But yeah, I'd like to add something to the scholarship for Star Trek. For a long time, I thought maybe the thing to do would be to try to get interviews and research Enterprise real hard, because for a while there wasn't really a lot of information on the behind the scenes for that, and we finally have quite a bit of that now. There's a lot more information on Enterprise than there used to be, particularly with things like the 50-year mission and the center seat. The book with extra material that was left on the cutting room floor for the documentary miniseries on Amazon, which I finally watched and meant to review but haven't gotten around to. That is a mixed bag, by the way. It has a really stupid title, but I appreciate a lot of things about it. But anyway, those are oral histories of Star Trek and have quite a bit of Enterprise in them. So at this point, I don't know what I could even do that would add to the scholarship. There's a lot more on animated series than there used to be, too. There's actually a whole book on animated series that has a lot of pictures. It's really pretty that I didn't even know about that came out a few years ago. I just remembered I gotta order that at some point. But yeah, I just dropped like $100 last week on more Star Trek reference. I found a bunch at a half price that I was missing, including this really cool hardcover that came out like 10 years ago. That's a bunch of photography of costumes. It's freaking gorgeous. It's just all the costumes of Star Trek, and it's really neat.
Oh wow, that's cool. I am going to Texas pretty soon for work, which is like the hub of all half-price books. They have so many there. I think I'm going to try to hit a bunch of those when I go.
I went to a really cool one in Frisco.
Oh, interesting. My work is in Plano, which is close to Dallas.
Plano is actually right next to Frisco.
Oh, sweet.
And it is where I usually stay when I go down there. So I've stayed in hotels in Frisco. It's about 20 minutes, half an hour away, and if you have time, go to the video game museum, because I know you're not a big gamer, but it's worth going. Everybody should go there. And I'm actually going to go again just next month, because Jason hasn't been yet, and I usually go when I go to the pinball convention, but Jason wants to spend a whole day there because he's a big video game researcher, and
wow, I'm going around that same time, so maybe we'll bump into each other. Who knows?
yeah, if we happen to be there at the same time, we should try to hook up and have dinner or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Let me know what weekend you're going, because I haven't decided what weekend I'm going at.
Yeah, neither have we. He just said we we got to come into the office for a couple days.
Alex Barron says I could just publish my Superhero Rewind reviews as a collection of essays. Easy money. Yeah, it'd be weird not doing some more recent ones, I guess. Like I would probably want to add some things to it. I have kicked around a Superhero Rewind book for a while that I would be like shorter reviews with ratings and trivia questions and other things with them. Austin and I have been talking about writing a book like that together.
Such a good name for a coffee table book. It'd be great.
Yeah, it really is. Adam March, how is the Rewind movie script going? I'm glad you asked. I actually meant to give you guys an update about that at the start of the show. The first draft is completed. I finished that over last weekend. And DJ, I wrote half the movie in a week.
Wow.
I took a few months off, and I was 53 pages in. I kind of hit a wall. And when I came back, I had a rough go for the first 2 days, and then I got into a groove, and I wrote like 55, 60 pages in 4 days. I had one day where I wrote 20 pages. It just came out. It wrote itself. That's when you know it's working, is when it just writes itself. I'm sure it's got some work. I'm sure I'm gonna hobble some things out of it. It is right now. I was aiming for a 90-page script. I really didn't want to go too much more than an hour and a half, and it is at 113 right now. So I will probably cut a little bit out of it. I also think that there are some pages that will probably be a little bit faster than a minute. So it may kind of come together at 95 to 100, which is reasonable. I just didn't want to get to a full 2 hours on that if I could help it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, that's awesome, man. That's exciting.
I don't know how the hell I'm going to shoot it. There are some things that, you try to go minimal, you try to be careful, you try to remember that you're working on like a nothing budget.
Yeah.
But there are some things to make it what it's got to be that you just write and hope you figure out how to do it. And then if you have to make compromises later on in another draft, you do that. But it's going to require more actors than I thought. And I'm probably going to have to put out a call for local actors. So I'll let you guys, if there's anybody anywhere remotely close to me that wants to be in the movie, like I'll let you guys know when I start casting. But
that'd be awesome. That'd be a cool video. Casting call.
People have also been asking me how I'm going to distribute it. This is a kind of a passion thing, kind of a, I don't want to sound mushy, but for lack of a better word, kind of a love letter to just what we've been doing all this time. So like this is just for us, just for you guys. So it will just be on the channel for free. I'm not gonna make discs for this or ask people to pay for it.
Someone asked if it was going to be on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Never.
No. And well, yeah, because if it's on Paramount Plus, you won't even be able to watch it. There will be something that will stop that experience from happening. But yeah, I also kind of wanted creative license to kind of dance around copyright issues a little bit for certain things. So like, hopefully, I don't get copyright flagged with anything. I'm not gonna do a lot of obviously like blatant copyright infringement, but being what it is, just like Superhero Rewind, it's going to be hard not to use like stills or really short clips of things every now and again. Yeah. And I kind of wanted the license to be able to do that. So I'm not going to worry about making any kind of money on it. Like I'll monetize it if I can, but if not, it's whatever. I just want to make it. I just want you guys to be able to see it. So I'm breaking certainly some rules that I usually would tell people that are writing original screenplays not to do, because of the nature of what it is. Like it's a fan project in its way as much as it's an original creation, if that makes any sense. So like I'm not gonna do the AVGN movie thing where I'm gonna like make up a parody adjacent to video games. Like, and we're just gonna talk about the superhero movies that come up.
You could talk about that Squirrel Disney Plus movie. I'm sure nobody would mind.
Yeah, we'll just have a whole commentary for that in the middle of the film, just right in the middle. It's gonna be a crazy amount of work. I don't know how long it's gonna take to make. we're hoping to start shooting it toward the end of the year. I will say that Pierce is involved, and he's already working on some wardrobe stuff for me. That's all I'll mention about that. I've talked to Ty, who might do some art for it. DJ, I'm probably gonna see if you're interested in helping with art for it. There's some like in-scene stuff that I'm gonna have to get made.
Oh wow!
And it would be nice if it didn't suck. So I may
ask to make it not suck.
I may put my feelers out and ask for some help from folks.
Cool. No, that's exciting. That's really cool.
It is. Yeah, I'm nervous about it.
Yeah,
but,
now that you have the draft, like you gotta. There's no putting it off now. It's already done.
I gotta figure out how to make it. Yeah. All right. Well,
it's the hard part.
Let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed tonight's edition of the Captain Logan Show, and we'll be back again next Thursday night for yet another one. Thanks again to Super Chatters, especially the couple of you guys that got us past the goal and threw in those whoppers, those $50 ones. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Really appreciate it. I will be back again tomorrow night for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Might be a little bit later than usual because I have a writers meeting, and I try to wrap up on time, but I also don't want to rush those guys while we're trying to workshop their pieces. So usually we start at around 10 o'clock. It might be more like 10:15, 10:30. But good news, Austin is about to have a schedule change. We won't have to start quite that late anymore for the foreseeable future. So I think next Friday's show, the Simpsons discussion is actually going to be earlier in the evening. It's going to be closer to 8 o'clock Central instead of 10. So hopefully more folks will be able to attend those. And just the Friday show, I mean. In the meantime, I was Captain Logan. And as always, we had DJ Martinez.
I was me.
Later, folks. Appreciate you.